Good day, mentors, and welcome to our session for the nature of teaching, the triad of teaching, and the 5 pillars of learning. So we will be exploring the different concepts, views, and the nature of teaching and the 3 components of the teaching learning processes and the 5 pillars, namely the learning to know, learning to do, learning to live together, learning to be, and learning to transform oneself and the society. As to the nature of teaching, we can say that the teaching profession is a demanding profession. We are not just classroom teachers, but we are also community teachers. It demands our skills and our personal qualities. If we have 60 students in a classroom, we expect that there are also 60 sets of characteristics among our learners or students, and therefore we have also to deal with or we have to employ different strategies to cope with the different characteristics of our students. We are facilitators of learning and nurturers of learners. We need to be a leader, an administrator, a manager, decision maker, instructional material developer, and instant researcher rolled into one. The profession needs to establish a smooth relationship with parents and other members of the community. With the multifaceted tasks of being in the profession, then it is really considered to be one of the most demanding professions in the world. Teachers play an important role, both personal and professional development. Our unwavering commitment and loyalty to the profession is required, and we have to adhere with ethical and moral standards elicited through the teacher's code of or the code for the code of ethics for professional teachers. It requires impeccable integrity, honesty, and sincerity to make them worthy of emulation by students, co-workers, and the professionals. Teachers afford unique teaching experiences. It requires readiness to face a class as a group while attending to individual needs of our students. We have to satisfy cognitive and affective objectives in every class or in every session. And we have to strive to make daily sessions exciting and enjoyable. Rewards come in different forms of how we could win students' love and emulation and parents' acknowledgement and gratification. So we have to provide rich learning, enjoyable, meaningful experiences for our students. Again, it's the curriculum. It's the entirety of the totality of our curriculum. Now, we do not just teach, we do not just deliver contents, but we have also to attend to the different characteristics of our students. What are the 3 components of the teaching learning process? So we have the teaching, we have the learning, we have the process. So what are they? The first is the teacher, and that goes to the first word in the TLP, which is teaching. There must be teachers because the teacher is the facilitator. He or she guides the students. He or she creates experiences in the classroom or even outside the classroom. Whatever learning environment that we have, but we have to deal with the experiences. The second is the L, no, the learning, and the learning comes from the student. So the student is without the students, there will be no process because the students are the receivers of the third component, which will be delivered by the first component. Okay, who is the teacher? So the student is the primary beneficiary of the third component, which is the content. So the content is very important because that's the very meat of the process. That's the P, no, the TLP. It's teaching learning process. It is considered to be a triad because these 3 major components of the teaching learning processes are actually they are interrelated. With the absence of one component, the triad is a failure. What are the essential teaching skills that we need to possess? You need to be caring. You need to be enthusiastic. You have to be humorous, but still content-based and warm, honest and sincere, open-minded, fair and impartial. These are desirable teaching attributes which should be included in your package as an effective teacher. We need also to be master of the teaching methodologies. Our caring attitude, our enthusiasm, humor, warmth, honesty and sincerity, open-mindedness, fairness and impartiality will have no use if we as professional teachers do not master teaching methodologies, because these things are the ways how we will deliver the content. And the third is teaching proficiency. You pass the licensure examination. That means that you are proficient to teach. Okay? Because the board exam, for example, tests your proficiency, the knowledge and skills that you have is you have passed the minimum requirements, no, in the profession, in the teaching profession, no. So the three major or essential teaching skills are our teaching attributes, our mastery of the teaching methodologies, and the teaching proficiency. According to the United Nations Education, Scientific, and Cultural Organizations, there are 5 pillars of learning. And pillars because it serves as foundation. Okay, so in the past, or traditionally, there are only 4. But with the re-landscaping of the educational setup of the world now, because we need to have sustainable development in the education, there is an additional 1 foundation. So we have the first is learning to know. That is the development of skills and knowledge needed to function in this world. Why you are here, why you are enrolled for Bachelor of Secondary Education, major in Math, Bachelor of Elementary Education, major in Content Education, and Bachelor of Technology and Livelihood Education, because of this first pillar, first foundation, which is learning to know. You have to pass the general education, the professional education, your area of specialization, even including NSTP, or the minimum requirements set forth by your degree program in order for you to graduate, in order for you to take the examination. That's learning to know. No? Learning different subjects, that's learning to know. Your foundation of your elementary, high school, and college, in order for you to finish a course and become professional someday, that's the first pillar of education. The second is learning to do. From the word do, it's the acquisition of applied skills linked to professional success. So it's the application of the different skills. No, applying for a teacher 1 position in the Department of Education, that's learning to know, because you are measured based on what you have learned in your college and taking the taking the board licensure examination for professional teachers. But when you will be landing a teacher 1 position in the Department of Education, you are already in the second pillar of learning, or the second pillar of education, which is learning to do. That is the discerning application of the knowledge that you have learned in college. Again, the traditional definition of literacy is knowing how to read, write, and count. But the modern or the new definition of literacy is we know how to read, write, and count, and apply these in our day-to-day activities. The things that we learned in college, in your elementary and high school, will just remain as learning, but it becomes functional when you use them in your day-to-day activities. The theories that you memorized in college will just be futile or useless if you will not there is no application when we are at home, when we are in our community, or when you will be practicing your profession someday. Third is learning to live together. As it's one of the programs or advocacies of the UNESCO, the United Nations Education, Scientific and Cultural Organizations. If you are familiar, if you have observed in the different schools in the Department of Education, na siya TARP, no nga, it says there, this school is a zone of peace. And that is related to the advocacy for peace education. That is why collaborative learning activities are being encouraged by the Department of Education to be used as a strategy in the class when even for in the virtual no in the virtual classes nga you have to collaborate, you have to build virtual or physical collaboration among your students, because in that way each student will be appreciating their fellow classmates, to establish peace, to establish harmony, to establish unity. Okay, when you graduate, you will not be working alone, but you will be in a team. And there must be, like, for example, in a call center, one of the strategies of call centers every month, no, if they have reached the quota or beyond the quota, there is a prize or naa sila gito og team building activity funded by their company, because in that way they can build a strong relationship among their team to strive or to aspire for more, to get the targets or even go beyond the target. So in school, no, it's actually good to collaborate with our classmates, no, with your to establish collaborative learning among your students or learners, for them to learn to live together in peace and harmony. And actually, it's the development of social skills and values such as respect and concern for others and the appreciation of cultural diversity. And that is very useful nowadays because students are into virtual world. Like for example, students are even become addicts to the violence themed games, no? Like for example, the Mobile Legends, or it could be Dota, na, any violence themed games, but they are into virtual communication. So it's virtual, it's not authentic, it's not physical, but we need, it's a challenge of the teachers on how we can be advocates for peace education in this third pillar of learning, which is learning to live together in peace and harmony. The fourth is learning to be. That's the target of education. Holistic development of a child, of learners. The learning that contributes to a person's mind, body, and spirit, and skills include creativity and personal discovery acquired through reading, the internet, and the activities such as sports and arts. That is why in school, we do not just develop you academically. Munang every month, if we are in CTU Argao, for example, every month there are major student-initiated activities, usually after term examination. Like for example, intramurals, the celebration for United Nations, Christmas party in December, and all of these activities, Foundation Day celebration, because we do not just let you develop your cognitive domain, no, of your personality, but it's also effective, the psychomotor and the non-academic experiences that you need also to enjoy in life. Kay ang sa kinabuhi dili man tanan no pa-bright tie, but it's actually how we build relationship, how we can be better persons, no, aside from knowing things, no, which are also essential or necessary. The fifth, or the last pillar of learning is learning to transform oneself and society. We go beyond at home, we go beyond our school. Okay, at the end of the day, what will be how are we using the things that we learned in school or at home? It should be expanded or extended in our society, from self to society, not from self to self, not from self to home, not from self to school, but from oneself to society. When individuals and groups gain knowledge, develop skills, and acquire new values as a result of learning, they are equipped with tools and mindsets for creating lasting change in organizations, communities, and societies. Mabit na one of the major functions of the university is extension. And as teachers, we are not just classroom teachers, but we have also to perform as community teachers. That is why if there are events or activities in the community, teachers are frontliners in the implementation or in the conduct of these activities because they believe that teachers are good event organizers. No, they can manage events, no, accordingly or with excellence. So these are the 5 pillars of learning which will lead to sustainable education. So learning to know, that is recognizing the challenge of sustainability, learning to do, acting with determination. So that's from recognition, that's knowing, acting or action, that's doing, and then learning to live together, that's collective responsibility. No? So muna in lasong tayong lahat ay may pananagutan sa isa't isa. It's collective. The responsibility or our obligation is collective in nature. Learning to be it's the indivisibility of human dignity. Now, we are holistic. We ought to be united. We ought to be harmonized with our responsibilities and learning to transform oneself and society, that's individual and collective actions. Okay, and that ends our session for today on the nature of teaching, the triad of teaching, and the 5 pillars of education. Once again, good day, mentors.